Hello, everybody. Welcome. You all hear me out there? Hope sounds all right. Welcome to the podcast, Breaking the Spell podcast. We are here once again.
Welcome, everyone.
And tonight's show is titled Stranger Things, so we'll see where that gets. I don't know if anybody's seen that show, but it's a pretty, at least the first two episodes that I watched, or 2 seasons that I watched. I don't really watch Netflix at all anymore. But the first 2 seasons, basically what the movie was, or the show was created on, or the idea was from the Project Montauk. So, Project Montauk, we should talk about that for a minute. But we all deal with stranger things in our life, and it gets stranger and stranger, right?
Right.
So, I'm trying to...
Reality is stranger than fiction, I can tell you that
Yes,
much right now.
Yes, it is. And it gets stranger every minute.
Yeah.
But, this is how we deal with it. We talk about it. We create different narratives and different ways of looking at things. We don't want to be living in fear. That's for sure.
Nope. No
That's
fear.
where we make all the worst decisions.
Right.
Oh, whoops. So I'm trying to find something here.
Okay, then he's finding something here. And while
I've got to remember how to spell it. Oh, there we go. Montauk.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Don't know the rights to that lyric.
So, the Montauk Project is a conspiracy theory, which it's not. But I'm reading it out of Wikipedia, so...
Yeah, bear with us.
That alleges there were a series of United States government projects conducted at a Camp Hero or Montauk Air Force Station, Montauk, New York, for the purpose of developing psychological warfare techniques and exotic research, including time travel. This is all Wikipedia, so. Yes. But it's funny how they're letting you know that it's a conspiracy theory. We all know what those are anymore, right? Truths. The story of the Montauk Project originated in the Montauk Project series of books of Preston Nichols, which intermixes those stories with stories about the Bulgarian experiment. And the origin is the stories about the Montauk Project have circulated since the early 1980s, according to UFO researcher Jacques Vallée. I think his name comes up in a lot of places. Isn't he the guy that created was it like the Venus Project?
Baby, you know how
wasn't it Jacques Vallée?
Why do you think I like my notes? but I think so.
Anyway, the Venus Project was like this whole like plan community, which at first seems really cool, but then it kind of,
Surface level
you
sounds
kind
all
of start
good.
thinking about like, oh, that might not work out. So Jacques Vallée, the Montauk experiment stories seem to have originated with the highly questionable account of Preston Nichols, and I don't know why they're questionable, and Al Balik, who both claim to have recovered repressed memories of their own involvement. Preston Nichols also claims that he was periodically abducted to continue his participation against his will. Nichols, born May 24, 1946, on Long Island, New York, claims to have degrees in parapsychology and psychology and electrical engineering. Isn't that funny how all the psychological people are very into electricity? Wasn't Tesla into electricity too? I don't know. Anyway, that might mean nothing, but. And he has written a series of books known as the Montauk Project series, along with Peter Moon, whose real name is Vincent Barbaric. The primary topic of the Montauk Project concerns the alleged activities at Montauk Point. These center on topics including United States government military experiments in fields such as time travel teleportation, mind control, contact with extraterrestrial life, and staging faked Apollo moon landings. This is awesome. Framed as developments which followed the 1943 Philadelphia experiment. Now, if you don't know what the Philadelphia experiment is, this is when they believe, correct me if I'm wrong,
That's why I said I like
when they
my
shifted
notes.
dimensions in a ship. And Tesla was involved with that. Nikola Tesla was involved with that. But anyway, they phased them into another dimension, and then when they came back, there were people like
melded
to the ship, like they're in the ship.
Like they became a part
Yeah,
of it.
so it didn't work very well. Both Peter Noon and Preston Nichols have encouraged speculation about the contents. For example, they wrote, "Whether you read this as science fiction or nonfiction, you are in for an amazing story." In their first chapter, describing much of the contents as soft facts in a guide for readers, and publishing a newsletter with updates to the story. Now, back in the day, they used to make, remember when you used to hear, we do not, this company does not exactly
I
agree.
do not agree with what this
Yeah, they
person
used
is
to put
saying.
that in everything. Now it's all fake news. But the fake news is coming more from the mainstream than it is coming from that side. So the work has been characterized as fiction because the entire account was fabricated. It's funny, by Preston Nichols, and more's come out that this isn't. I mean, we may not know exactly what they were doing there, but there's truth here.
Fiction.
Yeah. Who has consistently been shown to contradict his own backstory, and it does appear. See, they don't tell you how they did it. They just tell you that they did it. That they're lying. They don't give you any evidence of it. It's funny reading from Wikipedia, trying to navigate through the edits and bullshit. Of course, if the government program doesn't want to be known, it's not going to be known.
Right.
Okay, let's see here. And it does appear as if Swerdlow just wanted to become famous in a new age community and established a reputation for himself, which, kind of weak. So anyway, yeah, that's basically kind of the premise of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where Stranger Things. Apparently, that's where it was. It was inspired by that.
Or the idea.
By that idea of it in those books.
But like I said, when you think about things, we're in a realm of free will. So no one can do anything against you that you don't somewhere along the line agree with. If they're feeding you propaganda and they're hypnotizing you to these things, even though your conscious self might be going like, nah, your insides, if you're not totally really aware of how you are thinking, like inner thinking, you can get yourself lost in these things. Yeah. And open yourself up to even more stuff, right? Because seriously, anything is possible. There are all sorts of claims in this world. And I'm not going to say that there aren't people that just make things up, or that there aren't sick people that see things that aren't there, or that whatever. However, there are some perfectly sane, logical human beings that report very strange occurrences. And many of us want to pass them off as tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists, or, whatever. And a lot of times our truth has to come out in some sort of fictional story. Some of my favorite books used to be like historical fiction, right? And I understood that this was a made up story, but I kind of could feel like I'm getting certain historical facts within it, right? And so understanding that for the nastier of folks that want to have things their way, that needs to get permission, but knows they can't get it without manipulation, are going to manipulate. So we have to understand we're in a world with manipulators in it, right? So no matter what, we always have to take that thing, look inward, understand where we're at, and align ourselves. Because if we're not aligned with our will, we will fuck with ourselves. We might give permission to some fucked up thing we didn't really want.
That's right. Trying to find more, but it looks like it's just Google, so it's going to be, obviously Google. That's a touchy subject because it's like the same story plays out in everything I'm reading, in every publication. So, whoops, I didn't do that. So I'm still looking for
more info. But how many of you have read a book that you knew was fiction, it was totally made up, but yet kind of felt like, not that you were just engaged with the book, but you almost had this sense of, oh my gosh, I bet that's happened. Or, oh man, are they sure this isn't real? Right? Really allow yourself to engage in those questions, especially when you are fully engaged in something, whether it's a book, a movie, whatever. Because when we are fully engaged in anything, that is where our subconscious and our subconscious align. And if we are not making an alignment, we're just allowing things to be fed in. We're going to deal with things that we don't fully understand, right? Because we don't know where we let it in. But we'll be dealing with it in some way, shape, or form in our conscious life.
We got a clip here we can probably play. You can hear it. Let's see here. It's from the Mad Truther, of course.
The Mad Truther.
Now let's see what it says.
In 1943, the USS Eldridge was made invisible and teleported from Philadelphia to Virginia. And this event was known as the Philadelphia Experiment. When the Eldridge reappeared, some crew materialized in walls and bulkheads, and they died in agony. But 2 sailors didn't reappear at all. The 2 men, who happened to be brothers, were presumed dead or lost. They weren't dead. They traveled 40 years into the future, into a secret military base on the east end of Long Island. They became unwitting participants of the Montauk Project. In the early 70s, Preston Nichols, an engineer who specialized in electromagnetism, worked for a defense contractor on Long Island. And during this time, he was working with a group of psychics studying telepathy and getting good results. He discovered that telepathy behaves exactly like a radio wave. For some reason, at the same time every day, his subjects' minds would be blocked, and he had no idea.
Yes. Psychic ability, psychic energy, all that stuff connects with our life, with everything we do. Electromagnetic energy. Keep that in mind as you're learning new things.
Yes.
When people try to tell you neutrons and electrons and protons and quantum,
when they put just sophisticated,
they don't understand. They have a less of an understanding of what life really is and how things work.
Anyway,
no idea why. After 3 years of this strange phenomenon, Nichols brought in radio equipment to monitor the signals during the psychic blackout. He learned that whenever 410 to 420 megahertz was detected, his subjects were jammed. And after 20 minutes, the signal would dissipate and the psychics would open back up. Nichols built a mobile transceiver and tracked the origin of the signal to Montauk Point on the east end of Long Island, New York. More specifically, he traced the signal to a large radar tower on Montauk Air Force Base, so there was nothing he could do about it. The radio interference continued for a few years and eventually stopped. Nichols didn't give it much thought until he received a call from a friend who said the Air Force Base was now abandoned and he should go check it out. And the base was deserted, but for some reason, it was a mess. You would expect the military to decommission a base in a clean and orderly way, but not Montauk. It was as if whoever was working here cleared out in a hurry. And after exploring, Nichols came across a young homeless man who was living in one of the abandoned buildings. The young man acted nervous. He said he was a military technician who worked there, but he deserted when a large beast appeared and tore through the facility, forcing the project to shut down. Nichols asked the man what he meant by a beast and a project. The young man seemed confused. He said, "You don't remember? You're Preston Nichols. You ran the Montauk Project."
Yeah, that's trippy.
Yeah.
So already Wikipedia, and this is actually, and this guy
In
seems like he's done some deep
1984, Nichols
research.
began working with a gifted psychic named Duncan Cameron, who he brought to the deserted base. Immediately, Duncan knew his way around. He recognized the buildings and knew specific details like where the mess hall was. The more they explored, the more information Duncan was able to provide. A number of disturbing experiments happened on the property for years. Duncan started to realize he was part of them. When they entered the large transmitter building, Duncan went into a trance. While in this trance, Duncan said he was programmed to find Nichols, befriend him, and then kill him. And once that objective was achieved, Duncan was programmed to destroy Nichols' lab and all his research. And because Duncan was now aware of his programming, he was able to resist it. And back at his lab, Nichols used a deprogramming technique to give Duncan back full control of his consciousness. After working with Duncan for a while, Preston Nichols started to realize he had been involved with the Montauk Project also. He just didn't know how or why. Over time, more of Duncan Cameron's memories surfaced. Duncan realized he had served aboard the USS Eldridge with his brother Edward. They were the two sailors who were lost during the Philadelphia experiment. Wait, hold on.
Wait a
hold on.
minute. Wait a minute. That's too much of a, I think, is that a coincidence?
I mean,
It's funny how that connects.
right?
Anyway, back to it. We'll try to play as much as we can, but it's a 31-minute long.
Yeah, so we're not going to go the whole
It
thing.
took place in the 40s. That's right. Duncan Cameron and his brother Edward had been transported from 1943 to 1983, 40 years into the future.
What the? It says.
Preston Nichols started to notice strange things when he was at work. People he didn't know seemed to recognize him. He was copied on mail and included in meetings that didn't apply to his position in the company. One day, Nichols was sitting at his desk when he felt an ache in his hand. He looked down at the back of his hand, and he had a Band-Aid covering a fresh wound, a wound he didn't have 15 minutes earlier. And this happened more than a few times. On one occasion, Nichols even confronted the company nurse and asked her if he'd been there for a Band-Aid. She said he hadn't and had no idea what he was talking about. As time went on, Preston Nichols began to realize that he was living two separate lives. One day he had what he calls an intuitive urge to visit the basement. This was a high security area. Only maybe 10 people in the company had the clearance to be there, and he wasn't one of them. He reluctantly took the elevator down. He gathered himself to try to appear natural and walked right up to the security guard. And even though he had never been in this area and had no idea what happened here, the guard gave him a badge with his name on it and waved him through. Whether by muscle memory or just by using his gut, Nichols seemed to know where he was going. He finally arrived at a plush office, much nicer than his own, and on the large desk was a nameplate, Preston B. Nichols, Assistant Project Director. Preston Nichols now had real physical evidence that he was living two lives, one as an engineer, the other as a senior member of a top-secret government program called the Montauk Project. By early 1990, all of Nichols' memories of the...
Well, think about like what first came to mind when I was just hearing that was maybe he did have two, but I think that was like two-dimensional hymns.
Uh-huh.
So there was two different hymns going on at the same time that are intersecting here. In my opinion.
Of the project had come back, and it was worse than he could have imagined. About 50 years after the Philadelphia experiment, a man named Al Bielek would start to have glimpses, visions, and then entire memories of the life of Edward Cameron, a young naval officer serving aboard the Eldridge with his brother, Duncan Cameron.
Wait, isn't Duncan Cameron a psychic working with the Preston guy?
Yep,
40 years in the future?
that's right.
I love it. Please continue.
Bielek wrote books,
He's
spoke at
talking. It's a
conferences,
goldfish
and gave
talking.
many
His goldfish
interviews
is talking.
describing his time on the USS Eldridge while living in the body of Edward Cameron. Aboard the Eldridge, when what was called a magnetic bottle was engaged, the ship began to slip through time. In a panic, Al Bielek, aka Edward Cameron, along with his brother Duncan, jumped ship. And when they landed, it was the year 2137. Edward woke up in a hospital and was being treated for radiation injuries. Duncan was nowhere to be seen. When his health improved, Edward learned more about the world he was now in. In 2137, the geography of the United States is vastly different. Florida and most of the eastern seaboard is underwater. California is a series of islands, and the Great Lakes have combined into one giant lake. After a devastating nuclear war fought between the West and Russia and China, the world's population has been reduced to 300 million people. The United States, Canada, and most governments were gone. Areas were under local martial law. And just when Edward was becoming overwhelmed, he was transported hundreds of years in the future and arrived in the year 2749. He would spend 2 years living in this time. And life in the 28th century was much different than life in the 22nd. The most obvious change was anti-gravity technology. This allowed people to live in floating cities more than 2 miles above the Earth. And these cities were run by an advanced AI, all interconnected with one another.
Okay, now, just to add an anecdote here. They're talking about floating cities in Dubai right now. So, yeah, pretty trippy. But, yeah, a lot of this stuff is intersecting, and because they affected the future and the past or the present, it has changed things. And it could just be
Or it's a
predictive
totally
programming.
Story.
You decide for yourself. And this is, hold on, let me give this guy some props. The author is, where's the author? TS, by TS. He's on Rumble. So anyway, the Y Files is what it's called on Rumble.
Another. And human life was easy. As long as you contributed to society, all your needs were met. The AI, operating robotic equipment on the ground, handled all farming and food production.
Hippie communist paradise.
Pretty much. And Edward felt like people lost their identities. Sure, their lives were easier, but they were now mindless drones.
Welcome to paradise, comrade.
And suddenly, Edward felt the world shifting again. Now, he and his brother Duncan appeared in 1983. When they arrived, they were briefed by government officials and told to never discuss what happened. Now, Edward would be going on his most important mission of all, but he would be going as Al Bielek.
All right, anyway, we should probably stop it there. Right. But yeah, pretty amazing.
We'll try to link this in the show notes if we remember.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It is it's the publication, or the publisher is Mad Truther.
Copy it and send it to me.
And
show notes later.
All right, I put everything in show notes. What are you talking about?
Or then you put it in the show. I don't care. Whatever.
So yeah, pretty strange story. And you might, maybe look it up. So it's one of those stranger things. There's plenty of strange things that happen to all of us every day. And you can see like how strange people are acting right now. I mean, we've been watching zombie movies for so long that
it's like we're all
you can start to see it now. We're living in a zombie land.
Right.
A lot of people that just go by the book and what they're told, and this is the safest way, and this is science, so trust it.
And it's kind of sad, really. I mean, because I even myself probably could think harder for myself than I do at times. I am actually consciously being aware of that, so I give myself credit. Don't get me wrong, but the point is it's easy to fall into a routine. Routines are good. Having a routine and doing certain things for yourself that make life easier for you is an amazing thing. But understand, even if you built that routine, if you are not consciously aware of everything every day, like your mood, your whatever, as you're going through as long as you're not getting up, oh, I'm gonna do this, and you're just routinely doing things, but you're actually aware of your moment. Okay, I need to do this right now. And you're actually in that moment. You're engaging with the process and the routine you've given yourself. But if you're just droning through the routine you've set up for yourself, A, you're leaving yourself susceptible to those things that will enter that drone mind. And B, you're droning it. You're not actually
droning it.
Full, you know what I mean? Like, but you are.
I get you.
You know what I mean? You're kind of you're disengaged. You're running through the routine without engagement. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I think it does.
Yeah, just going through the motions, just, not going on your intuition, but going on what somebody else has told you.
Or even your own routine that you set up for yourself.
Yeah, or the one that, yes, and a lot of the time it is self-imposed.
Yep.
Out of fears we have for ourselves, we hold on to those fears, and they become some of our worst enemies.
Right.
They block us from, things we want to do, or things we authentically, the life we
are
authentically
capable
want to
of,
live.
or are, yeah. And for a lot of people, maybe you dream of like being in faraway places, but you ultimately want this thing. Well, learn how to make this thing where you are then. Be able to really balance out your dream with your reality and live a fulfilled and conscious life. Right?
Yes. Si, senora. I don't know if I said that properly, but it's probably terrible. Yeah, it's terrible Spanish, I'm sure. And it was only one word, not two words. Sorry. Anyway, strange. And it is also on the other side. It's good to be strange.
It is.
I think that is being strange is your authenticity. Like a lot of people will hold that back, and they're not goofy, or they're not themselves because they feel like they need to fit in with everybody else.
Right.
And that's the right and safe place to be. And that's not. I mean, because what happens when you fit in with that mainstream, when that mainstream is corrupted, and when that mainstream is polluted, you're following that mainstream right off of a cliff.
Right. It's about being able to see all those things you loved about that and now incorporate it in a way, or change it, being able to change things up.
Yep.
When you realize you're no longer doing yourself or anyone else any good. Mostly yourself, right? Maybe you're helping other people, but you're kind of damaging yourself. You got to pay attention to that too.
Yep. Was Christy in here? I see Mandy. I see Linda. Hello, Linda.
And
yeah, it's called the Y Files on Rumble. So rumble.com, and then look up the Y Files, WHY. And it's about Project Montauk, or the Montauk Project. There she is. I always love that song. People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone.
Yep.
Women seem wicked when you're unwanted.
Yes.
Streets are ugly when you're down. When you're strange. I can sing the whole song. I think I know the words to that one. Shit, I barely know the words to my own songs. How's everybody out there doing? The Lost Boys. Yeah, I remember that movie too. I think they played a couple of Doors songs in that one, didn't they? Yeah, they played Strange, and I think they played Strange Days on that one too. A couple of Doors songs on that one, on that soundtrack.
I think it's about being able to utilize what kind of stimulates our mind, what engages us in entertainment, and then being able to authentically and logically kind of break it down. Why do I get lost in this particular thing? Is it good for me? Right? Oh, okay. So I really get into this thing because this is the aspect of things that I like. So, but I can see, hang on, if I get engaged with this thing all the time, I might get a little lost in fantasy land. How can I balance out what it is that entertains me, that grasps my attention, and bring it into the world that I need, that's healthy, that's balanced, that's working for me.
Yep. All right, everybody. Well, this comes to the time of the show. We're about 31 minutes in. So please, this is a value for value show. If you can share the value or spread the value, whatever, show the value in this show. We do have a link tree running across the screen and the ticker. And there's also one in the description. If you'd like to leave a little donation, we appreciate it. If
That's
not,
right.
if you could just share, if you could like, if you could review, you
Send
can
us
review on
ideas.
Spotify
Yeah.
and Apple wants me to pay them like $11 a month to
So
have my
we kinda
podcast.
not
So
gonna do
we're
that
gonna
for
wait
now.
on that one. But
Yeah.
we do have, there are other places where our podcasts on, but mostly I would say Spotify right now. And
Yes, Christy, in the moment. Knowing that you're fully engrossed in a moment and then taking awareness of that.
being present in the moment, but also being like knowing that, looking into the future and what's this moment, what do I do in this moment, or the decisions I make in this moment are going to affect my future. And that story was a trip. I need to look more into it. I'm always saying that, but I've heard about it.
We
I've,
do. We
I've
look into a
done
lot of
some
them.
research
And that's
about
why I
it.
said I'm kind of one of those people that likes my notes, whatever. I got to get over that. I know I got to be able to wing it more and just depend on my brain. But my brain likes to fuck with me a little bit, right? And so, yeah.
Anyway, yes, the value for value, also meaning time, talent, treasure.
Yes. If you have ideas,
Time meaning
if you
giving your
have-
time,
yeah.
giving your energy.
Yep.
Talent meaning the talents you can utilize to help the show along, whatever that is.
Oh, Christy missed a story.
And treasure. Yeah, you
Yep.
can watch it back. It'll be on here. I'll leave it up.
And we're gonna hopefully add to the show notes the full story that we were just listening to.
Yes.
I say hopefully because we do get forgetful.
And
we're doing a lot
treasure
of things,
meaning
but yes.
that monetary
Yep.
donation.
Sorry.
If you can do that, we appreciate it.
Yep.
We love you guys.
Yes.
You don't have to. It's
Nope.
free to be here.
It is.
It's free to listen to the podcast.
Yep.
We're not going to do any ad reads on this show. We're not going to do any big weird sales. I mean, maybe we'll do some fundraisers.
Maybe, at some
but
point, if we really believe in a product that asks us to do something,
probably not.
We
though.
may. We may.
I would rather
but,
not go there. I would rather,
like I said, but
allow it to be people powered
the
and no
likelihood
middleman.
of that, at least for this show, really, we want to be it people to people. If you have clips and ideas for a show, send it in.
Yes.
If you can
and
make
becoming
clips
a
of
producer
our show,
is leaving up monetary value.
Yeah.
Producing, letting us know, giving us ideas.
Yep.
I mean, we're welcome to any comment or any even constructive criticism.
That's right.
If you're just being a dick, go ahead. I mean whatever. If you want to be a dick and you want to comment something shitty, that's cool. If you don't like us, you don't like us. Comment about it.
Right.
If you do like us, comment about it.
Right.
Review it. Yeah. Go follow us on Spotify if any of you use Spotify. Right. And you'll get all of our podcasts. If you missed the first one or missed it the first time when we do it live, you'll see it on the podcast recorded.
That's right.
Everything's being archived right now, and they're also on Facebook and YouTube.
And we do intend on taking all of our shows that we do up a notch as we grow and as we do things and as life continues to happen. And, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that shirt, honey. The baby blue. Baby blue is one of my favorite.
It's more of a baby. I thought it was more like a turquoise.
No, turquoise is, I guess.
Kind of between turquoise and baby.
It looks kind of baby blue to me.
Yeah. I've grown up with many different crayons. It can look different.
Many different. I know they always have this weird, weird name before the color. Crimson red or.
Right. And they're all slightly different, but it looks kind of like brick red. And God, can I know the difference between
brick red? Brick red's like a lot more like bright red.
Anyway. Yes, being able to see those attentions to details, right? Like I have a hard time with that sometimes. Yeah, sucks. But that's the whole thing, understanding where you are in your thinking, those limitations you see for yourselves. But that's not a limitation. I understand sometimes it's harder. I got to pay more attention to this thing, right? If I want to get there. Not just accept, oh, I have a limitation here. Okay, that's my limit.
Yeah, okay, I can't go past that.
Right?
I can't challenge that. That's
right?
Set in stone.
Exactly.
Some guy dropped out of the sky and started chiseling that shit on stone.
Yep.
It is. We got to be careful who we listen to, especially the ones that say they're experts and aren't experts, because there's a lot that are just grown through it, learn
Yeah.
the.
I've learned this, and I've done it 100 times
They
now.
they
I'm an
gain the
expert.
intellect, but they don't gain the smarts, or
Right.
they haven't gained the smarts yet, and that's happening a lot. Like my mom was telling me the other day that she went to the doctor and she was asking about her liver or where the liver was, and the nurse couldn't tell her. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of world we're living in.
Yeah.
And I think we've been living there for a long time. It's just,
yes, and that's the whole thing. If
there's,
we,
you know, the good always rises. Well, not necessarily.
if
The
we can
good,
look
you always see the good. There are always good medical
Yes.
professionals or professionals in any
in every
whatever institution
place,
it is.
yes. And not all of them were fully
But they
educated
don't
in like
rise
some
to the top because
institution,
they
but
don't
yeah,
want to play ball. A lot of them.
exactly.
People that are, you know, doctors, nurses that are living in integrity usually lose their jobs or
Or they're living humbly.
get their licenses
working
taken
in
away because they
small-
want to practice real medicine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're working in this small project over here because I get to actually incorporate what I know and like work with my patients instead
Yeah,
of
if you
just
go
doing
against
what
the
I'm told.
business model in that profession, you're, because it is a business.
Yes.
It's not. It's lost a lot of compassion and,
Yeah.
and
that's the whole thing. When you have these compassionate businesses, you can be very successful. Don't get me wrong, but let's be real. This day and age, everything's been made so big and so corporate, so one ideal.
Yep.
That it's hard to have integrity in a business that tells me I have to do it this way. Now, if I come across a client or a customer or whatever, then if I approach this way, they're not going to like this very much.
well,
But my deadline says, or my rules say, nope, everyone's dealt with this way. You might end up fucked, right? You got to be able to keep that.
Christy
that
likes
leeway.
the cover, the
Yeah, it's an
thumbnail.
awesome one, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm digging it. Thank you. I created it myself. It wasn't that hard.
It
It wasn't one of the harder ones because it was a little easier for me to visualize. Stranger Things, that's the title. Now what do I come up with as a thumbnail? So thank you. So I was going to say, and Deb Richardson said we learn in high school. We learn, what do we learn though? Like a lot of the times, right? Think about one of those things we learn. Student government. We learned that in junior high too.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to trust the government. Those are
Yeah.
supposed to be the trusted people, but I knew a couple of those people in student government, and they weren't exactly the leaders I wanted.
Right.
Like they were the ones usually gossiping about everybody else but
And
themselves.
tattling and being all like, you know,
Yeah,
but yeah, doing shit
just
themselves
being,
that were
yeah,
like,
and
you
not
know.
all of them. I've met some of them that were they were really
Oh no,
were
and
good
there were
leaders.
some that just believed it and like were really
Yeah.
great at it. Yes.
Most of those people were just very ambitious, like to a point of a fault.
Yeah. And here's the thing, I didn't make it high school, guys. Sorry. So I don't know about high school. But I know that in junior high,
Well, I'm just
I felt
talking
like I was
about
still
learning
the same
like
things
real
I
life application to things. I'm
learning
talking
again.
about actually
over and over again.
living a life and doing it, like going through it, experiencing it.
Yeah. For me personally, I felt like, well, I mean, and I had some other interferences and how, like, I don't want to put you black and white. But basically, my decision was by the time I'd reached the end of junior high, which I barely spent a few months doing in all 3 years. I learned how to read, I learned how to write, and I know the basic math. I think I can figure my life out from here. Thank you.
Wait, I think you got a lot further than how, many years as you've went through schooling. You went through as many years that like just living.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
It's just as many years
like,
living.
But I mean, like, with all that was going on in my life, and I'm not saying I made the proper decisions and I couldn't have done better, because obviously, I mean, come on, who couldn't have? But my thinking at that point with the school structure, the way it was, I felt like they just kept trying to reiterate things that either I wasn't all that great at, but I figured it out. Okay, so I'm not getting an A yet. Can we move on to the next thing? Right. And the next thing never came. It was always like this basic education over and over again, maybe with different added levels or whatever, but like it was like this repetitive.
No, in
learning.
high school, I saw like a lot of like social structures created social
See,
structures.
like I said, I didn't make it to high school, so.
And I was more like anti of that. Like I wasn't wrong. There's nothing wrong with groups of people hanging out with each other.
Obviously.
But it becomes very tribal and very mean in a lot of times. I mean, I wasn't one that was picked on because I'm a big guy, so for the most part, I didn't get picked on, but I saw it happen to a lot of other people
Right.
that didn't deserve it. And that's what my memories of high school, a lot of it was like, yeah, this is
See it in junior high.
this is like a
Like I said,
social, this is
yeah.
like a social, you know.
I was in and out of programs throughout that phase of my life. So I made it through the 9th grade. But I mean, if you want to get real about it with the programs I was in and out of and how it all, like, when I finally do some sort of learning between all this.
I mean, you had some shit going
And
on too,
that's-
like with your dad dying.
Yes,
and
and that's
shit,
what I
you
say.
know.
I learned a little differently, but I kind of got the gist with everything that was going on in my life. You know what? I can read, I can write, and I know basic math. So if I want to just get into life, I can take these basic skills and actually advance on it, as opposed to just repeating it over and over and over and
Yeah.
over and over again to prove that I actually know it. You know what I mean?
I mean, you do want to do things over and over again to get better.
Yes, that's the whole. Yeah.
But I
that's what
think
do
we've
now.
become like, the system has kind of made us become so dependent on the system
Mhm.
that we've forgotten about self-reliance. We've
Yes.
forgotten about you know, how we can become more dependent,
Right.
or not dependent on, you know, of course, our friends, our community. That, you know,
Yes,
sometimes we
that's
need, everybody
important.
needs somebody,
Yes.
sometimes.
Yes, we all need somebody.
But really, that, you know, finding that we can actually, we want those comforts. We want everything, and there's nothing wrong with you if you do that. You know, understand though, those come with strings attached, and would rather live without those strings attached. And I know there's other strings attached to the way I want to live, which means I've got to go do it myself. I can't rely on any help. Like, really, that's going to be, it's going to get done because of me and
Yes.
the people that are helping me.
And hopefully people help me get this done.
Or,
because it's going to take
yeah, and
longer.
if not,
it's just
that's
me.
okay. It'll still get
Right?
done.
Yeah,
It's just, it may take longer.
that's right. That's exactly it. Yeah, and the things that really matter, right? And that's why I think, like I said, I do wish I had
I
more
love people that
education.
just go about their lives.
but-
I love that. Like, hey, there you go. You're living your life.
Yep.
Don't worry about mine.
Yep.
Don't worry about theirs. Don't worry about theirs.
Right. See, and that's just it. I think there's a lot to be said that's really good for the systems that are set up, especially like for public schools, whatever. They're learning things. But to understand the basic things in life, the things that actually get us through a self-sufficient livelihood.
Yeah.
Even when you're not living in that thing, even if I don't have a homestead, knowing and understanding that animals are part of our life and someone has to raise this animal and kill this animal and do this
Process. We'll say process.
Yes, understanding the processes, the actual real
it
life
is
processes
actual
of life,
in your life.
as opposed to
Like all that
simply
stuff you eat on your table every night for dinner.
Yeah.
Even the plants.
come from
The
somewhere.
plants suffer too. You're
Yes,
killing a
they
plant,
do.
or you're
They
killing
do.
that part of
That's
the
right.
plant. So, you know, we've got to get our head straight as
Yes.
far as that goes. Like that the natural way of things and the natural way things go.
Yeah.
No, there wasn't a time when animals all flourished and lived together, and there weren't predator and there weren't prey.
There's always been predator and prey, always from the get-go. But yet, animals did live in harmony for the most part,
And
right?
think
And
about it
kinda
this
knew
way:
when
the
they could
cats
strike.
were created, or big cats
Uh-huh.
and predators were created to eat meat.
Yep.
That's what they can live on. That's what they can survive on. Now there's some that can eat, like bears.
Yep.
They can eat meat,
And
but
berries,
a lot of the times they eat
fish,
berries.
or whatever. Yeah.
You know, but they'll eat fish. They'll eat, you know, but they're a predator.
Yes.
They need meat,
Yes.
and they will supplement with meat
And when you were
and
hunting,
berries, and, you know,
you have to remember they are a hunter. They're a
basically
hunter-gatherer,
we're in the
right?
same category as a bear.
Yes.
We can eat. We need meat. We need vegetables.
Yes.
I don't know why I'm going in this place, but if you think about it from a big picture,
Well, because when you
it's
understand
really
those
not
basic
hard to
things,
understand.
and you handle those basic things without trying to make it so fancy and so, oh well, this is what our community needs, so I'm going to go ahead and outsource it over here because they have all the space to just do all that right there. Instead of incorporating every small person in a place, to maybe make a central place everyone gets to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's got to be more local. Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't ever.
It's harder if you want to live
It
in a more
is.
harmonious life. And because of that, being harder is actually more rewarding.
It really is. And
you
it
don't have to
feels
go
so
out
much
and
better,
find
yes,
harder because
yes.
it's already there.
Right.
And that's,
Right.
I'm excited about that. I know I'm going to fall on my face plenty of times.
Hell
I know
yeah.
I'm going to be challenged in every way.
Yep.
I know I'm going to make some big mistakes.
Yep.
However, I have a vision. That vision will happen.
Yep.
That's how anything is created in this world. Because you have a vision, or somebody has a vision, or a group has a vision, and they create it, and they go through the struggles, and they go through the problems, and they deal with all that shit, and they continue, and they create something.
That's right.
That's how everything in this world is created.
That's
you know,
right.
if it's created by man,
Yep.
or woman,
people, humans.
Man meaning, humanity.
Yes.
Humanity for some reason. It's always about the man for some reason.
I know, right?
I try not to be.
Well, man.
I try to be more sensitive to that, or try to explain it a little better, articulate.
But we are men. Even us women, we're just men, right? Like, haha. Anyway, but we are men. We are men. We all have the feminine and masculine aspects within us.
Right.
Yes, society has kind of tried to.
No, and there's nothing wrong if you want to eat vegetables and you want to live the vegan life. Like I said, if that's better for you or feels better,
right,
go for it. Like it's up to you. I'm not here to tell you not to do it.
Right.
I just, in my opinion, I think meat offers more protein than you could ever take.
A lot faster.
If you have to take pills to get protein, and some people, like, they're very sensitive to meat. Like, I get it.
Yes.
There are those exceptions that can't eat meat. And
there are all those people that.
But there's also this is a bit of a psychological operation.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we had to defend ourselves, you want people that can eat off of a goddamn, a guy that's going to eat off of a chicken leg or whatever, and ready to go to battle and do what he needs to do or she needs to do to protect.
I would rather you
defend
eat a chicken than have to carry 50 pounds of beans.
As I can tell you energetically, a leaf, the ocean, a drop of water, a rock outside feels it.
Yes.
They feel it.
Yes.
They feel it like we do.
Yes. It's a different existence.
It's the circle of life. It's a circle. Yes. It's not. But if you want to be a vegan, I'm not going to down you for that.
I have no problem against that.
If that makes you feel better, and of course you should do it your way.
Me personally, I have a very high metabolism.
Right now.
And if I were to try to live on just fruits and vegetables, dude, I'd be eating so much, and I would have such a problem without meat. And trust me, I don't eat like a ton of meat, but I do know what my body needs. And the best source of that protein for me to get through is meat products.
Yes.
And I would rather have the most organic.
Thank you, Reno,
meat possible.
For the stars you've been sending. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. We do love the
Thank you for the monetary gifts or donations. We do appreciate it. It helps.
And that's just it, though. If I could, and trust me, anyone that knows me knows how I eat. There's no fucking way in hell I could be a vegan.
Yeah, my girlfriend's a sailor mouth.
Not at all, in any possible way, eat enough fruits and vegetables to get me to a place where I was actually healthy. Because I metabolize it real fast. I eat real slow. I eat little bits at a time. I need high protein things.
And I'll eat vegan meals. Like there's plenty of vegan meals.
Plenty of vegan meals that are delicious.
And
yes.
I'm not putting myself out of that and having meatless meals sometimes. I don't mind that. Yep. I enjoy it.
Yep.
I'm just a meat eater. I accept who I am, and I like meat. Now, if someday I can't eat meat, which would suck.
Yeah.
And I get it.
It would suck because for me, that's my best source of protein. It really is.
Right.
I mean, I work fast. My body works fast. It
just keeps that insulation on you. It just kind of seems to have like an insulative effect.
Yeah. I don't eat a lot.
Where vegetables, in some ways, like they're good, like just having a vegan diet, there's benefits to that too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, though, let's not like forget about what keeps us going, what keeps us strong, what keeps us hardy.
Right. Right.
because we've all learned, I remember in the 90s, what do they call it? Heroin chic. When models had to look like they were on heroin.
God,
and
like just pencils.
They actually had a name for it, heroin chic.
Trust me, you guys, I get thin. And when I have this weird little cycle.
Those people need to eat a sandwich or something.
But anyway, I get really thin, like Skeletor thin, like they do. And I don't like the way I look that way. I'm like going, what the fuck? How does this even sell?
Right.
But of course I always had too big a butt and too, like I'm short. I'm weird. So it's not like I could have sold my Skeletor look. But seeing people that thin and like unhealthy thin, like there's thin and masculine, like I got a lot of muscle, but those people don't weigh just like 95 pounds because they got a lot of muscle. Muscle weighs more than fat, y'all.
I mean, really, when you eat meat, think about it. Chicken noodle soup.
Oh, such a good.
What are some other? Don't even get me started on seafood.
Right.
Some people call seafood the bugs of the sea, but
no,
there's a lot of good
nutrients.
Those fatty acids are really good for you.
Yes, we are understanding how the body, dude. Just understand the body. We are a lot of water. Okay, much like this earth, we're a lot of water. But we have these living organisms working without us and throughout us that manifest as the human body, right? And it's all controlled by the mind. Now, my mind isn't every cell in my body. So every cell in my body is going to take how life is happening to it the way it will. And my mind, it's up to my mind to process what's going on there.
Yep.
And either handling it or ignoring it, right? But my system is its own system. It's its own little life forms happening to create what happens to be Norma.
Yep.
And Norma's mind controls all these little lives happening in this little universe that create Norma. But if I am not aware of certain things,
nice, Tammy just dropped 20 pounds leaving my ex.
Well,
was your ex 25 pounds or 20 pounds?
No, seriously though, I get that. I get that.
That's awesome though, Tammy. That's great. Yes. Keep it going.
Yeah. Well, because when you feel better, you bring yourself.
Meat doesn't cause toxins within the body. It's what the USDA or whatever regulatory body okay. And I just learned this like straight out. I mean, I kind of knew it, but I wasn't paying much attention. Every food that we have that's approved by the USDA approved, I don't know what it is in the UK or Australia, has to be soaked in chemicals.
Yes.
Before it's deemed to be fit to be sold. So
for milk, we got to take all the vitamins, minerals out of it and then add it again.
Then add other chemicals to it.
It's okay and safe.
But we can't have raw milk. That's illegal. And they're actually they're fighting for that right now. An Amish guy, I can't remember his name, in Pennsylvania, I believe.
Yeah.
He's feeding a lot of people with his food. His completely non-pasteurized.
Not because he's out advertising. Not because
it's not messed with. It's all of his food is, and they're trying to shut him down. They're trying to say that he can't sell that food to his people. And there's a lot of people that he sells to and provides food
they're
for
the ones suing.
They're the ones that are suing for him.
They're actually going
because they need that natural, fresh, actually fresh food.
When something has been pasteurized, we've been made to think that's a good thing. But what they're doing is they're taking a natural, raw substance that's very good for you. And then they're processing it. They're going to make it something else. And then in that process, unfortunately, that raw process or that raw material, all the vitamins and nutrients that was actually in it has now been taken out.
Yep. Amos is his name. I can't remember his last name. Sorry.
So now I got to go and I got to add in all these other synthesized products to make
and chemicalized.
Yes, to bring back all those vitamins and bring back all these things.
And I guarantee if you look at all these chemicals that they're washing our meat in and our milk or everything we eat, these chemicals they're processing with are dangerous. Like even I'm just learning right now that ivermectin is actually a pesticide. And that was the one that was supposed to be right. It was supposed to be help everybody with their sickness. I'm not going to. Yeah, ivermectin.
Was it that one?
I actually looked it up because I was watching something. I looked it up.
Right. I wasn't sure.
And it's actually a pesticide. So that one's not really good either. If you're ingesting a pesticide,
But we are
pesticide.
taking in so many pesticided.
Yeah, we're breathing it in. You guys seen those
we're
trails up
eating
in the
these
skies?
foods, we're doing this.
That's all pesticides. We're being like crop dusted in a major
every
way
day.
from a higher altitude.
Yes. They're putting it in our
It's
air.
not the plants they're crop
They're
dusting.
putting it in our water. They're putting it everywhere.
In our toothpaste.
Yes.
In our water, yes. Our water supply has been found to have a lot of what was the drug they found in it when they tested it?
It's the heavy metals mostly.
You know, it was lithium and it was something else, and those things dumb you down. They're
they're trying to bring us to a place where we're blah and tired and can't think and just don't know and don't want to. And oh my God, it's so hard. Why do I want to make it hard on myself? It's already so hard. Yeah. They're doing that from the air, from the water, from the everywhere. We have to recognize that.
There's no escaping it right now, but I think I'm trying to figure out how to build a water purifier that works better than a Berkey and only costs like $25. That's probably one of my next projects, just to figure it out how that works, where you can actually filter it. Basically, you're using sand, you're using live charcoal, and I think there's something else you're using, and then you're pouring it through that bucket, like a 5-gallon bucket, and then it comes out purified.
Yep.
You're using, live charcoal, sand, and there's something else. I can't remember what it is, but I've been doing a little studying up on it because I want to create one, and that's what I'm going to have to use when we're out of the land.
And the best possible the best possible water, even though they are getting us in the air too, is still rainwater. They're making fake clouds. There's a bunch of shit in it.
Sacred salad. What's that, Tammy?
But actual reality still plays.
You mean the kind you smoke? the lettuce? You mean like let us have some more?
Let us have some water. No, but understanding nature.
Yeah, Mandy says we tested ours and the crap at the bottom of it was unreal.
Yeah.
So we distilled. Yeah, that's good. And rainwater is basically distilled water.
Yeah.
I mean,
unfortunately, sometimes
you might want to still run it through a filter, but it is distilled water.
Yeah. Because they can't take away actual clouds. They can't take away the way nature works.
Yeah, Earth cleans our water really well through the rocks.
Yes.
As long as it hasn't been contaminated by, from the top, like by mines or mining chemicals or any of that shit. As long as people haven't gotten too involved in it, it is the cleanest. That's why you always see Mount water, whatever mount it is.
Right.
Like right now, what do we drink? We drink glacier.
Glacier. Yep.
Yeah, and they get that one from the top of a mountain. They get it from. It's been, our wells, a lot of our wells are very clean water.
Yeah.
It's the water they pump into the system
but like
they're sucking out of and then adding to
But we still want to even maybe sometimes filter that, or at least test it, make sure, because they are systematically destroying our natural sources and natural ways of getting healthy.
She says, yes, smoke it. Yeah, we smoke our sacred salad all the time.
We do.
Matter of fact, I think we just smoked some sacred salad right before we podcasted, and now I'm going to light up another sacred.
And yes, I'm sorry, y'all. I do have the mouth of a sailor. I decided I was a grown up in the 9th grade when I was being a little shit. So my mouth talks that way a lot. I apologize. I'm working on being better with that.
It is raining. It's gently raining.
It is nice.
Yeah, it's nice and therapeutic, calming. Linda Winger says, I know lettuce. Once when I had gotten some from my nephew, I called him and told him the lettuce had landed. That's awesome.
That's awesome. And look, we're still learning like everybody else. But I feel like...
I think it's when you think that you have nothing else to learn and you have nothing else to, you haven't figured out.
Right.
That's when you get yourself in a real sticky situation. Right. Me, myself, I do like to put myself on the edge of things and really be that, in some ways, pioneer. But some people don't like that, and that's fine. They can be whoever they want. but that's who I am, and I've never apologized for it. Mistakes and all, and I've made plenty. But it's important that we kind of think about that in our lives, because anybody that can judge one person or another can be judged just the same. It's a mirror, and that's what we all want to remember, because anytime we want to think, or we're living a better life than somebody else, maybe not. Money helps you with not being desperate to do things you wouldn't do it does help with your happiness overall as far as security. But even people with money have lots of problems, and trust me, I've talked to people with money, not all of them, but that I've talked to, but there are many that are very neurotic and very driven. So they're driven to this place where they're stressed out. Their life is not, they're not living a good quality of life, because they're freaked out every day about something that can get them, or something that's not right with them, or that they're not doing something right enough, or very insecure in a lot of
I had a
ways.
story that just played out in my head. Well, not a story. It was, my mom told me, she was talking to her friend. We all know. Well, we don't all know. My love knows. This friend she talks to, how they are. So if anyone was actually capable of actually going out, starting from nothing and building a home, it was me. I both take that as a compliment and as a challenge, because I know these people. Knowing and understanding that how other people see you doesn't fucking matter.
Well, that lettuce is strong.
But understanding who you are, what you are, and what you're doing, and not allowing, you can want a relationship with someone and have one, knowing exactly who they are. It's up to you to put up those boundaries. It's up to you to understand.
Christy made a good point. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. How far you're sharing, and understanding and hearing those things out of their mouths, being able to take what triggers you. Like I said, at first I'm like, oh, well, yeah, of course, it would be me. Right?
Christy said, I feel like I was drawn to that with you. Maybe. Oh, hold on. I read the wrong one. In my opinion, that's how we grow. The mistakes we make, and the lessons we learn from.
Yep.
And that is true. And, we can try to avoid those mistakes and avoid lessons, but why would we avoid? Because you don't learn from your accomplishments.
I mean, you do.
I mean, you kind of learn, this is how I accomplished this, or this is how I accomplished this. So maybe it'll work again, but it might not work the next time.
Right.
But with our lessons and hard lessons, those are where we learn. And I'm not trying to say, bring it on. I don't want to take all of the lessons on at once, but I'm aware that those lessons happen. You're putting things in places in life that you have to make a decision that's neither one of them's a good decision.
Right.
Or a good decision in your mind, right? We're all faced with those kind of lesser of two evils when we're forced. When life is saying, hey, you got to make a decision here.
Like what's going to happen now.
Neither one's going to be very good.
Right.
Yeah, if you're not going through those kind of moments, you're not learning. You're in a bubble.
Right. Well, it's I think, understanding that we're all, there's things that I've said, the world don't revolve around you. Okay. Now,
I mean, it does.
Here's the thing. Yes, we got to understand it does.
But it revolves around all of us
way,
too. It's not just one person.
Understanding that your perception, your point of view, your triggers, your emotional state, your mind matters, but so does everyone else's. And being able to understand that not everyone thinks exactly like you can help you make traumatic moments less traumatic, right? Simply understanding they just don't see me right now. And I have to understand they're not seeing me right now.
Yeah.
And being able to step back from it instead of taking it so personally. And that's hard to do, especially when we're growing up.
We're all triggered by things that bother us.
Right?
I mean, when we get triggered, the best thing to do would be imagine a mirror in front of your face.
Yes. And you know how many times I utilize that trick?
Or imagine whoever you're looking at,
I actually
put that
have talked to
mirror
myself
right in
in
front
the
of your
mirror
face.
Constantly.
It works every time. It may piss you off, but it works.
And there's been times I looked at myself like, oh my God, you are a childish little something, something, ain't your girlfriend. Mm-hmm. Look at you.
Your triggers are you.
Times,
Yes, that's right.
Yes. That's the part of yourself you need to get through, get past, get over, work with.
All you have to do is, okay, if you want to know if you're thinking too much about yourself and how, like, and it's usually an insecurity or insecurities, think about how much you say the word I or me. I have to check myself every day. See, I just said I, but I have to check myself every day because it's not just about me. It's about everybody.
Yeah.
We have our own personal calling, our own personal feelings about things and personal drive, whatever that is for us. But I'm not the only one here.
That's right. That's right. And look, I've dealt with a lot of things. And I don't want to beat myself up over things. But things aren't playing out exactly the way I wish they would have by now. And I have to be conscious enough and aware enough of people dealing with people. It doesn't matter how close we are. It doesn't matter how, whatever. We're all dealing with our own things. We're all doing it in our own ways. I got to be open to when they come to me, right? Instead of sitting here and like having resentments to what's not happening now. I did my best. Why don't you get that? Well, it doesn't matter. Obviously, my best didn't work out that well for them. And that sucks. They got to experience some more shit. As good or better, they might have had it, right?
Linda said she just made toast with an onion, tomato, and melted cheese. That sounds good.
Yummy, yummy.
You know, if you have a really good tomato, like especially the ones you grow that are homegrown, and you get them all fat and juicy, you just cut a big slab off it. You put some, if you want mayo or mustard, maybe a little salt and pepper, maybe a little splash of like balsamic vinegar and cheese. Oh my God, just a see there again, just a tomato sandwich, which is more vegetarian. It's not vegan because I'm using bread and what makes that not vegan? The cheese.
Yeah.
The dairy.
Unless you're making like a
but you have to alternate it for something else.
Cheese.
I don't know. There's some vegans out here. There's at least one vegan in the chat. So let us know what makes a tomato and cheese and maybe a little onion. I can't eat raw onions. They give me serious like heartburn or indigestion.
I'm getting better about it.
They're good for you.
I'm controlling myself.
I can eat them when they're cooked. I love them when they're cooked. It sweetens them up. I used to have to cut onions. When I worked as a prep cook at Olive Garden when I was like, 17, 18. Oh my God, I had to cut so many onions. Like it was terrible. We had to wear safety glasses just so we wouldn't cry so much. But we still cried. You just cry in the safety glasses.
Boo-hoo, woohoo. Just kidding, no. But onions are tough to chop up.
Yeah, if you use a lettuce wrap, that would probably, but the cheese is not, the cheese is also dairy, so you'd have to take that out. And you'd have to use, I can't remember what they use for cheese. Vegans use for cheese, but I've had it before. It does taste like cheese.
Yes, but
you can make cauliflower into cheese, right?
Understand how much more when you understand how much more of that product you need to create,
or that helps more than you think.
And
like be conscious of what you're eating and what you're not eating. There might be some things you're not eating that are going to cure a certain ailment that you're just. Medicine, food is our medicine.
Yes,
that's our first line of defense.
It is.
I ate at McDonald's the other day and I feel so shameful, dude. I feel so shameful in my body and my stomach and my digestive system felt shameful too.
Girl self that was like had birthdays.
It was terrible.
Still has
tofu is how you used.
Okay, it really is nasty food.
And tofu again, soy is not that good for you either.
Nope, not good for you. I'm sorry.
It's hard to digest.
We can go ahead.
It's hard on our digestive system.
I know, but it is. It is a tough one. It's a tough one.
I'll eat some edibles. How about that? Let's eat some of those. We need to get some. We haven't ever bought any edibles out here.
But you know what? The last
Norma's never had a really good experience on edibles. She just never gets it.
Whatever, dude.
She never. Yeah, she thinks too far ahead that she never actually it gets the experience.
I know. I gotta work on that.
She's a bummer when it comes to that kind of shit. Like I'm all off in a space cruise somewhere.
And I'm going, really, dude?
And she's like, what? Like, I'm not even seeing, but she is. You can tell physically she's like sweating and then she got the chills. Then she's sweating or she's like back and forth. Yeah, she is just in her own way. She's not allowing herself to see certain things because she's probably afraid of it.
Yeah, my physical self does.
But she's getting better.
I deal with some things, yeah. But I feel like
Yeah,
that's
edibles
my
are
sense
awesome.
of understanding myself and understanding that control.
You make edibles? Tammy Bliss makes edibles. Nice.
Ooh,
Tammy,
ooh.
let's talk. Where do you live? I'll tell you where I live. Send it to me. I'll pay you for it. I mean, we live in a place where you can get edibles really easy, but they're usually really expensive.
Here's the thing. I have a hard time paying that amount of money when like every time I've had an edible, I don't, like one time I got relaxed.
Linda says, don't feel shame about crappy, disgusting McDonald's. Just don't do that again, young man.
Yeah, right.
I did it a couple of months ago.
No,
I know, really.
Thing, you
eat it, okay, it is. It's always something quick. Like, I'm really hungry. I got to eat something.
Yeah.
I don't want to make anything right now. I just want to eat it. Like, maybe you're on the road, maybe you're at work.
Right now.
So you just grab the biggest piece of garbage. And, even lower than that is like gas station food. And even lower than that, and I haven't seen this, but I've heard about, is gas station sushi. I wouldn't recommend that.
No.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
Unless I see some fancy restaurant
I love
sushi. Gas station. Oh, but no, here's the thing. I have like childhood memories with McDonald's. And I remember right before it got really, really gross. I mean, right before, because I was still a child when it got really gross. Just the memories it brought back for me. And so when I'm eating that gross stuff and I'm not digging it that much, I just dig into my memories. And I enjoy it. Right. So, but understanding that that's what I'm doing is key. Right. I don't want to just
when you eat it, the high lasts longer. Yeah, I think it gets to your it stays in your digestive system, which goes right to the bloodstream. Right. But and it's funny because you can eat one gummy and not feel hardly anything, and then you eat another gummy or whatever it is, and it's got a lot, like a very high concentrate.
Right. And that is the hardest.
And that's what gets you.
Point with the edibles. I think
like the one that got me the most was cereal. It was like
and I didn't get shit off that cereal.
It was Cocoa Puffs.
He was way fucked up.
She got it. She got
No,
some.
I didn't. I did not.
Yeah, you did, dude.
Babe, remember we argued.
Okay, I took half, and then you and Aj got the rest. But you're half my size.
I know you use that size thing a lot.
Oh, it does matter. Hey, okay, can I get a vote on how size matters? Not for that reason, but size matters for like the buzz you get and how much you need to intake. Sometimes there's exceptions. If
babe, alcohol.
Some people are hypersensitive and hyper.
Alcohol, I agree with you. You can.
No, I'm talking about the other two. I'm talking about the other two.
Edibles, I'm telling you, you get way lost in space way before I do.
That's because I like to get lost in space.
And I'm going like.
I'm willing. I'm not like resisting it. Like, okay, you really got to show me something before I'm going to start tripping.
Like mushrooms. Mushrooms will take me to a place. I understand how heavy I am in this earthly plane. I don't get to ignore it. And let me laugh at all the ridiculous shit I think. It definitely brings me that.
There is more body mass. Yeah, the body mass matters. It makes a difference.
It does.
Scientifically.
But when it comes to, I'm sorry, I don't know, THC, maybe it's
because
I need it.
Trust the science. Trust this
fuck
science.
You.
This science that I'm talking about right now.
Alcohol, I agree. Other drugs,
everything. Dude, it doesn't. Everything. Stop it. Stop it.
Babe,
you are not right here.
I'm sorry. The weed, you get way higher than I do.
Well,
you get way.
But I've done it more than you have.
And maybe.
So it's easier for me to connect with that chemical in my body.
I waited till I was older.
I'm easier to more open to it.
Maybe.
Has nothing to do with size. I mean, it does have to do with size. Like if I take this much and you take, because you took more than me when we last dosed on LSD.
No.
Yeah. Oh, you did. You took by half a hit. You took more than me. And you still didn't feel it.
No, I mean, I did.
She felt it.
Yes, I did. No, I felt it.
She was just looking for some unicorn to come out of the sky.
All y'all were having all these experiences and seeing shit. I'm going, fuck, man.
Well, that maybe you weren't on the same wavelength as us. Maybe you should have been paying attention to your own high, to your own experience.
Well, and I was, and that was it. I was going, okay, I'm definitely not where they are.
Heather Atkins says, I have to smoke it because eating it gives me a high I sure don't like. See, and me, on the other hand, I'm like, let me put on the astronaut helmet and the gear. T minus, like I'm ready. I'm ready. Like, where are we going this time? And the thing is you shouldn't use it all the time because now some people microdose like mushrooms and they should. Like, that's good for their therapy. It's good for their PTSD or their traumas or, whatever they're dealing with. But I know that if I overdo it, it's just going to get boring for me. And that's at that point, it's overusing it. It's not helping or aiding in any way.
Right.
And so I basically try to wait for it, and I know it easily. I can get it easily. They make they call them, they're mushroom bars, and they're just chocolate, and they taste like chocolate. And if you get a full bar, like a full 8 bar, which looks like a large Hershey bar, not the big, huge, extra large Hershey bar, but just like the regular one, extra large. If you take one of those, and I haven't taken one full, and I still want to take one fully.
I'm gonna tell you what.
I want to get us 2 bars, but they're like $50 a candy bar.
Let me tell you, with mushrooms though, I feel like for me, because I've dealt with other like hallucinogens now. I only recently did acid and whatever, and like blah, whatever. So like I have a lot of experience with them. But I noticed that, like, okay, so with the LSD, I was playing out like my patterns. I'm hot and I'm cold. I'm hot and I'm cold. So I couldn't quite get the difference. I just knew I was going hot and cold really fast. On mushrooms, however, it made me feel my density, right? I mean, I got the lucidity.
You're my density. Oh my God, right? I can't quit thinking about the Back to the Future. Whenever I say destiny, I think about was it George McFly saying, going to Lorraine, "You're my," and then he looks at his notepad, "density."
Right.
I mean my destiny.
But understanding, like,
Norma thinks too much about it, and that's what the problem is. She puts too much thought into it instead of letting the messages come to her and letting it come to her. I think that's the problem. That's funny. Kathy was just saying, it made Dorothy sicker than a dog, one candy bar. I think, no, I want one full candy bar because I can handle that. And they cook that. They cook that in. So it's to a certain extent, it should be. I mean, a lot of it is sea legs. Like, you got to get used to the motion of the ocean, because there is a motion of the ocean to psychedelics.
Notice how long,
depending on what you're taking, it's all different. It's all different. It can affect people sometimes really strongly, and they don't ever want to take it again, or in a bad way. And I don't suggest that. But for the people who can, ride out the storm or ride out the experience, it's a beautiful thing. That's when it can become very beautiful, because you can understand the darkness, the light, the gray.
And I think that's what I was trying to explain with my mushrooms. Yeah, I
not understand it completely, but a little bit better.
I felt the heaviness and like the responsibility and the way I thought about life. I was actually laughing at myself. I'm going, oh my God, this little thing made me feel
Tammy Bliss has got all kinds of ideas. Tammy, and me and you are going to become best friends.
Right. It was a way of being able to, like, kind of like, holy shit.
She's got all kinds of good
I'm
ideas.
Like weighing myself down with this thought, right? Like, oh my God, it's actually kind of funny and we can laugh it off. And if we just deal with this properly, we don't have to feel so heavy about it. So I feel like, as far as my lack of experience in hallucinogens, because I don't have a lot of experience, I have some, but not a lot. I would say mushrooms are my ally in the way that they make me see the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? They make me feel the weight that I feel every day that I try to ignore. I am a heavy person, but I'm not heavy, right? It's those things that I think about all the time. It's those things that and
that's where the problem is. That's where the block comes in.
Exactly.
Because people, if they're not ready to deal with what their shit that's facing them, like, you have to deal with your own inner demons, and that's straight up your own inner demons. It's really not anybody else's. It really is. That's where it becomes a teacher. It becomes an ally, because you can go to this place, and I still get this when I smoke really good sativa. I get to this place where it makes me paranoid, but if you can ride through that, it also gives you very great, like, enlightenment clarity. Clarity. But the clarity, like I said, the clarity isn't just, and I always say, clarity doesn't mean you're just, oh, look, I get to see all the good things and everything for what it is. Yeah, when you're seeing everything for what it is, it can get very scary and paranoid. But that's, if you're not ready to face that and be able to work with that as it comes in, you're going to have a bad experience.
I feel like mushrooms brought me.
If you're not ready to deal with some of the darker sides of yourself and the darker sides of this existence, yeah, you're gonna have a miserable time.
So the acid I did,
And then there's some people, sorry, let me finish real
go
quick.
ahead.
Then there's some people that want to take it so they can escape to that place. And that's not good either, because that makes you look like a total lunatic in front of everybody else. And trust me, I've had that experience. Not me as myself, but I've seen other people go through it where they get this like sense of empowerment, and then they don't want to leave it. And sorry, you're not supposed to live up there where you're living right now. You could visit, but that's not where you're supposed to be living all the time. Yes, understand this is part of your life. This is a part of what you're seeing. But do you want to say something? I'm sorry, I kept going for a while.
No, anyway. No, I'm just saying. Understand, like, I don't have a huge repertoire in drugs. Okay. I, as a young person that was abused, tried to keep control. But
yeah, she was on the other side, like, I'm not going to do this, or
right.
I'm very, like,
but
she was
I did
prude
try things.
to a point.
I did things, and I understand. But here's the thing: I also now, in doing certain things, and just living my life and raising kids and understanding myself a little better, because that's the whole thing. Okay. The reason I utilize hypnotic techniques as opposed to hypnotics as I am to get us into a place of healing is because that is that place where we are playing with each other, right? We're conscious and we're unconscious. In the drugs I've tried so far, I was too conscious to truly understand,
or even that,
truly be able to get into the experience of acid. I was too enveloped in the experience of, I don't know. We've tried a few drugs. I don't want to go naming them all. What I'm saying is, when I did mushrooms, I sensed that same feeling of me just trying to be control of myself. But I was able to actually look at myself, experience myself, and kind of laugh at myself going, oh my fucking God, you're taking this little comment. I was able to embody my smart ass little self and go, holy shit, bitch, you're actually taking this shit personal.
Yeah, Nicole said my mom did that and totally turned heavy drinking. She couldn't deal with this. Like, yeah, that's the whole thing is, if you're going to that place and you're going to drink, so you have to erase life, instead of actually doing what alcohol should do for you, which is make you more jolly, release, relax,
let go, a relaxant.
Because it is a relaxant. That's what it is. It relaxes. But if you're going to it where you're going to these miserable or dark places, you're going to bring on a lot of bad shit.
Right.
And that's, staying in that higher place, because like Anthony was saying earlier, I can't remember what his comment was, but it is, you get to this place of empowerment. It's not really fear or safety. It's more like I'm empowered. Like I really see more than everybody else does. And that's where clarity kicks you in the ass.
Right. Right.
Because you do see a lot of things, but that duration of that psychedelic is only supposed to last so long. When it lasts, okay, you do have to deal with the come down, but you have to go into these, when you're dealing with any of this, you have to go into it knowing that's what you're going to deal with. You have to be able to write it out. If you're not somebody that can do that, and it's really hard I wouldn't suggest it at all. I wouldn't suggest it at all.
I think that's the only reason I was so disappointed with a high-strung LSD that I dealt with. It was very high. It worked with people quickly. It made, and I did feel it. Don't get me wrong, but I felt it like a drug I tried for the first time. Like I'm just getting used to it. It didn't give me what I was hoping for.
Tammy Bliss, she's really got the name.
The point is,
all the comments
is being able to understand actually what is your tools for empowerment? What are your tools for what is holding you back? Like, what are you doing right now that keeps you from fully engaging into these things? And what is
Tammy, we drink. Like, and that's the whole thing is some people take it and they use it and just get sucked into this like negative warp.
Right.
And like I want to.
You can. Yep.
A lot of the time I do it to relax. I do it to relax at night.
Yep.
But some people do it because they feel like they want to be on this higher plane, and it does get you at a higher plane. But when you drink too much, that goes away.
It does.
It becomes a very chaotic,
such a fine line
kind of spirit.
Alcohol. Let me just put it to you that way. I do use alcohol as an ally. But I also see, I understand, and have to be careful of
What I'm saying is, I don't want to live in a place. This whole cleanliness, we talk about veganism, we talk about
right.
If anybody's ever seen that movie, The Demolition Man, and I'm sorry I keep bringing up movie references, but that's the best way to explain it because most of us watch movies, most of us, learn that way. I've read plenty of books. Probably could, I'm probably due to read a lot more. I should be reading a lot more. But movies, I had no problem understanding it and got into the deeper meanings of things because these artists, these directors, these writers, they want you to see, and that might be their own deeper meaning, but it becomes a deeper meaning for you, and it might be different from the movie,
from what they meant, what they actually wanted to put out there.
Where was I going?
You saw the opposite. I don't know.
You weren't listening to me.
I was listening to you, baby, but we're actually
having a total memory.
Your climax. I can't tell you where your climax.
My climax. I know I was bringing it to a place and then I just shed on it, but no, the really looking for those things. That's important. Like you can get yourself high. Me and Anthony talked about this the other day. You can get yourself to that high without any.
You don't need
anything.
Right.
Like you have all those chemicals within you already. Just do breathing techniques and you can put yourself into a place that gets you to that same place, that lightheadedness, that euphoric state. And that's why there are meditations that do that for you.
Which is
yoga meditations.
Like some drugs work for me the way they do for everybody else, and some don't.
Yeah, there's some things you probably shouldn't do, like doing cocaine all the time is probably not a good idea. Although I love cocaine, I probably wouldn't. I've never wanted to do it like as something that I would do all the time because I would probably destroy. I would
enjoy the focus.
That's where all my money would go.
But I can't do that.
And that's why I don't want to do that.
Right. My body,
I would ruin the livelihood.
Could not help it. I couldn't. I enjoy the focus, but that means that I have more work to do on myself. Not like I gotta expect some drug.
What I'm saying though is some of these things can become allies, some can be enemies, but it depends on how you look at it.
That's
like a lot of people are afraid just because they've seen all the propaganda of people like flying off roofs or thinking they could fly and jump. That shit never happens when you're on LSD. Never happens when you're on a psychedelic. It may happen when you're on which is a psychedelic. I shouldn't say that. Like PCP or angel dust or something like that. That might put you there. But from LSD, all of the worst I've ever experienced is somebody thinks that they're fucking almighty after they've done it. Or somebody goes into a total bad trip and they
fall into their own psychosis.
Yes, they fall into their own bullshit that they're feeding themselves.
Whatever it is, whatever space they're in that psychosis, they fall into it. They give it full power and they live in that subconscious space.
Yep.
Always it's that subconscious space. That's what I'm saying. Finding our balance between our subconscious self and our conscious self. Finding that balance between what we want and what we're willing to deal with. Reality and our dream.
Oh, my money, bad decision on Coke. Yeah, that's right. But isn't it grand? It's sweet candy, but that's why I won't do it all the time. I'm not saying if I didn't ever have a chance to do it, I wouldn't, but I'm not somebody that's going to go out and buy it because that's not one that I'm not making tons of money that I can afford that habit anyway, or that indulgence.
I can't give into that. Yeah, that's a fun thing. And like I said,
but it is fun, and it's not even fun anymore because there's so much it's cut so bad.
Like I said,
if I did it, it would have to be somebody that have to tell me, hey man, I got this straight from Colombia.
Right.
It hasn't even been messed with.
Right. I didn't do it.
Okay, I would be like, yeah, okay, let's do it.
Then, and I'm thinking as I hear about it.
And think about it, the farmers, the people that farm the coca plant, they chew on the coca plants all day when they're at work.
To relieve their stress.
It's kind of like having coffee.
It's like, yes.
Because before it's refined, it's not that strong.
Stimulant that keeps you calm. It just kind of like, oh, okay, it's a.
Oh, I don't even want to tell you how much that shit costs. I'm thinking it costs, from what I remember, I think it's like a half tea is like $50.
Here's the thing.
So that's like a half gram, isn't it? A half gram is $50.
Into play for us to have livelihood we want. However, I would rather work a little extra hard doing.
People that haven't done cocaine don't know what a half tea is, but anyway.
I know. I'm not a big cocaine person. When I finally got brought into the stimulants, well, actually, I can't even say that. Actually, in the 6th grade, I think.
But what I was saying earlier is these psychedelics, a lot of the psychedelics can become your ally.
Yep.
But it depends on how you look at it. It can't become a crutch where you're doing it all the time. And if you are doing it all the time, it's because you're in the work that you're doing. It's not because you're just doing it recreationally. You're doing the great work. You're doing the work.
Right.
And you're doing the experience. And there are plenty out there that are doing it that way. I've met a few of them, and they did do it that way, and they've always done it that way, and that's why they've never went crazy.
Right.
Because some people can go crazy. It's not for the weak of mind or heart.
Nope. You have
to be able to deal with that darkness
on
too.
your shoulders. If you do not, you are going to get lost in a psychosis and just live there.
Yep.
And you were going to be imbalanced, and you were going to be off kilter. And
Tammy sounds like she's got a really interesting life.
Really.
She did it in her 20s. She was a stripper.
Dude,
what was your
girlfriend?
Tammy? What was your stripper name?
I wanted to be a stripper, and dude, I did a couple of like.
Oh, sorry, exotic dancer.
No, I tried to do a couple of those nights where you go basically audition. And let me tell you, I was so ready
You're
to
talking about
work
the
my way
open
through that
amateur
stage.
night.
I hope you're looking at me and thinking it's good, but I'm in my mind, I was so ready to get out of there and out of that place.
You feel uncomfortable.
I could not do it.
You know what? I'm feel uncomfortable when you start getting money thrown at you, though. I'm sure.
No, you love the money, but I was still.
Kristen with a Y. Oh shit.
I could not.
Welcome to the stage, Kristen.
Anyway.
There we go.
That's not even the point. Because I feel like if I could have separated myself a little bit more then, I probably could have done better financially. Not whatever. But financially, I could have set myself up a little bit better when I left the situation I was in. But I could not separate myself from the situation. And I was all up in it. And I was going, oh my God.
Kristen was a feature for 10 years. Tammy fucking getting it, dude.
Right?
She works hard for money.
All is fucking mind, y'all.
And she does. Those people do work. They do work hard for their money. Yeah, you have to deal with a lot of creeps. I was in
that opportunity. I thought I could do this,
but you didn't.
Yet
you made a choice
I allowed my mind to go. No,
you made a choice not to. That's okay.
I can't be present in this moment and just let go and allow what life will do without having some kind of control.
All right, folks, I think we went from conspiracy to exotic dancers. Anyway. And I think it's all been fun. I think we need to wrap it up here in a second.
And it is understanding that miraculous things happen when we understand that fucking reality is stranger.
And it gives you things. You know what? If you think that you're in some safe place, I guarantee you, the universe is going to put you in a weird place.
Yeah.
Because you think that you have this thing all figured out. Whenever you start feeling like you have it figured out and you should be throwing your judgment here, throwing your judgment there, just remember that shit's going to come back at you.
That's right.
And I know hard thoughts are hard to stop. They just happen, right? And then if you feed them, they get bigger. It's like planting any seed. Anyway, like I said, this is a value for value show. Thank you everybody for being here.
Yes,
thank you everybody. So thank you for the stars. If you want to leave a donation, it is in the description. It's my link tree. You can leave one there. We don't care how much it is. If it's 50 cents, who cares? We care. We appreciate it.
It counts. Your energy to our energy.
Yes.
We appreciate you.
Thank you all for being here tonight, and we will see you on the next Breaking the Spell podcast. Thank you all. Much love to everybody. We'll talk to you next time.